Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Hank, and welcome to Age and Wealth Success. And you know what we do here? We help you to increase your business and your wealth and really to be happier. And today, I just have such amazing people that I've been blessed and attracted to. And today I have Wayne Sutton. And Wayne, welcome to the show.
I am truly excited to be here, Dr. Hank. Really
Well,
appreciate it.
Well, you're just amazing, and the founder and training of Neuro Persuasion, and I just love it. And we're going to talk about how to influence others by influencing yourself first, and all kinds of wonderful things that will just help us to sharpen our saw, if you will. It's just a matter of just tweaking us a little, and it's kind of like the baseball player in college who hits 200 and a baseball player who hits 300. That the baseball player, when they graduate or whatever, that the 200 hitter gets whatever $50,000 job, and the 300 hitter gets millions of dollars playing baseball.
Right. That's right.
And what's the difference? And it's just one more hit every 10 times at bat that can make you millions too, and make you happier, more successful. And so, I love the topic, and we talk about a lot of the same things, but I love this about our beliefs. And we all know, Wayne, that it's done unto us as we believe. And you have a way to uncover and erase limiting beliefs. And can you share a little of that with us?
Yeah, I think the number one thing we have to recognize is that we all have these these patterns in our mind. We go back and we study the psychology, and we recognize it's the first few years of life, and then everything from that point really just kind of tells us how life is. We see it. We don't believe until we see, but when we see it, really, this is how life is. So we have to recognize, where's that limited belief?
Yeah.
Is it that I can only earn so much money because this is what I saw in my environment, I saw my father, my grandfather do? Is it that, hey, I'm turning 50, so now I'm going to naturally get sick? Or is it, what kind of belief what kind of mind virus is running?
Yeah.
Says, okay, this is next. I think asking yourself, why do I believe what I believe?
Mm-hmm.
Why do I live the way I live? Mm-hmm. And not asking it from a place of negativity, but a place of expectation. Mm-hmm. So we can find those gaps, I guess you would say.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. Yeah, and it's all about this asking, and this all critical, area to ask. And you also are known for having 5 magical words to influence anyone, and including yourself. And I love that
yourself. I'm glad you said that.
Because the number one person we need to influence like you have influenced others by influencing yourself. So what are those 5 magical words?
Well, those 5 magical words have built my whole career, and I mean that.
Wow.
It's just that simple. And I think sometimes when people hear something that bold, it's like, yeah, sure. But I can really say it not only built that, it also connected with my wife, my children. My degree was actually in temperament therapy, recognize an inborn temperament, how people, their needs, the unmet needs. Mm-hmm. That's where drama comes from. So I recognized early that we just need to know what really matters to that person in front of us. And if we're trying to influence them, if we're trying to coach them, if we're trying to be a therapist, so I'll give a quick story as I release the words to the audience.
Sure.
A number of years ago, I had a good friend and just an amazing person, but she was a number of years ago. I was in my 20s, and I was really studying persuasion, and she was in her mid 40s, and so at the time I thought she was old. Now I laugh at that. But she said, "Wayne, I'm middle age. I've got these two people in my life. I don't know what to do. One's John," and she told me her whole story about John, and I knew John, and one was John's friend, and I don't know what to do. They're both in it was truly like our whole time over lunch. I'm hearing about this, so I'm really just kind of tired of hearing it. And I said, okay, well, let's solve this now, so you're not having to solve it 15 years later in a divorce. Let's just solve it. Both of those aside, let's forget about them for just a second. What's important to you about? And that's the 5 magic words. What's important to you in a relationship or about a relationship? Now, obviously, when you ask a question like that, you're going to get very surface level answers in the beginning. So I got, they care for me. They're nice to me. They're good looking. Whatever answer she gave me.
Yeah.
And so I'm listening. I said, okay. And one of the things you just said was, and I took one of her keywords. I said, what's most important about that? Curious. And I just asked it from a place of curiosity. So she went to another long trail, which many people think is just a rabbit trail. It's not. You have to listen for the key words.
Yeah.
And when I heard it, I heard her voice shift. I said, oh, okay. And that. Now, this normally takes 30 minutes, Dr. Hank. I did this in 5 minutes because I was ready to get back. And so, but ultimately, what's important about, and I just used another one of those keywords that I heard her tonality shift. This was so amazing because I remember, I can still see it. She looked up like this and to the left. So she was processing a part of the brain that was different for her than normal. I saw her take a deep breath in. I saw her. And then she gave me back what was important. And she started tearing up. And I said, you have your answer. She said, it's John.
Wow.
I said, yeah. So 20 plus years later, they're still married, very successful, very happy.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this stuff really works. Now imagine if you ask yourself, why am I doing what I'm doing? What's important about my relationship with my wife? What's important about my relationship with my children? The key is, though, is you've got to go beyond the surface level.
Yeah.
It's usually that third time you ask that you get that emotional, And for me, those 5 magic words, if I'm selling real estate, what's important to you in buying a home, or what's important to you in selling a home, and then taking time to go through those levels and hear, because it does something, Dr. Hank. It does more than just get them to give you the keywords or what's important. Many times they've never asked or even asked themselves these questions. You're attaching that emotion unconsciously to you and your product and your service.
Yeah, beautiful.
That's the key.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, the power of questions, and that specific question, really to help people think. Like right now, it's really a time for all of us to kind of fix, if you will, our dream machine. That, a lot of our dreams have gone to the wayside. We've been locked down, masked up, whatever. And people have forgot to dream. So one thing in real estate, but applicable to really, everyone. And so for you listening, for your family, for your family, it doesn't matter what profession you're in, to really start asking yourself about, first of all, about what's important to you, and then go pursue it, and all the money will come. And ask about, and especially asking now for real estate agents, asking people that are afraid to sell their home. Most people, the reason why there's a lot of inventory is people are afraid to buy their home because they don't think there's another home. And we actually have answers and solutions, but to be able, in fact, it's called the psychology of listings, and that I offer to real estate agents across the country, and with great success, because it's, again, back to this, asking these questions and helping people fix their dream machine about the American dream or anything else that they want, whether it's a relationship or what business to get into or whatever. And I just love that. And And to kind of switch gears a little here, Wayne, because you just are filled with all just amazing information to be able to help people. But, most professionals, I think, are using outdated sales processes. And what do you, and it actually hurts their business. And so what do you recommend as far as what is a better sales process, if you will?
Yeah, and I say that with respect. It's a great thing that the foundations of sales will always be the foundation of sales, and that's your communication, your questions, your positioning yourself. But I think some of the problems we run into today is we're using some of the hard closing techniques. People watch movies like The Wolf of Wall Street, Boiler Room, and they get this mentality that it's close. How do you close this deal? And so when somebody gives an objection, hey, I've got a book of objections here I can overcome. When I sold insurance, one of the things were, well, I don't want to. Let me think about it, Wayne. And their script book was, well, don't you care about your wife? Don't you care about your children sitting here? And what good did that do? That just brought shame and guilt and didn't ever bring a sale. So you've got to use, when I go back to asking those emotional questions, for example, instead of just trying to find a gap, there's a whole thing about gap selling, and that's fine. But instead of trying to find the gap, let's really find out what matters to that person, where their unmet need is, and then unconsciously anchor through language, through visual cues, the positive to us and the negative to somebody else. And so I think that is, if you can get somebody in a positive state of mind, just reality on this. A quick story. My wife thinks this is funny. When she went to go shopping, she's like, hey, do you want to stop by Starbucks? And do you want to stop? She wants to get me caffeinated. She knows that's if I'm caffeinated, I'm happy. Yeah, let's just buy it. She knows this, and she's learned that's my buying pattern or my spending pattern. She's got the buying pattern. I got the spending pattern. But in reality, it is almost that simple. If you can get somebody in a state of mind where they fought in the past. So in real estate, have you listed a home before? Yeah, great. Can you share with me more about that? Listen for the good, listen for the bad. And then you want to find out why they chose to list with that person or why they chose to list that way. And then it makes it easy because they've already put themselves back into that state. Have you ever bought a car before? Yeah. Did you enjoy that? What was enjoyable about it?
Yeah.
Get back into that state. So I think some of the outdated sales techniques are just a hardcore closing, naming people. And I think what we're learning from the study of the brain, we're learning that people move emotionally. We knew that anyway, but now we're seeing it.
Yeah.
And when you connect your product or service to them emotionally, that's the key.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that, and I appreciate you. Giving the real estate example. Again, this can be used, for anything and for everyone, but we mainly have as our audience, real estate agents and brokers, loan officers, whatever. There's 5 chemicals that are released in the brain and in your client's mind, if you will. And that could help us if they're released, and it's I'm assuming all about this emotional bond here. And so can you share with us these 5 chemicals that the brain releases?
Yeah. So I'll share with you in a way that we hear this, and what I really love is when we hear something that's a little bit of maybe some truth that somebody else has neglected. People hear dopamine and they're like, oh yeah, a dopamine rush. And so somebody took a study and they recognize when your phone dings on Facebook and you got a good alert, that's a little dopamine. Video games are built around you're at the next level, you get a reward, and that reward is another little dopamine hit. Which what's really interesting is the brain is an addict. The brain wants dopamine. So what does the brain look for? It looks for the reward. Now, unfortunately, this is why we find marriages fall apart and adultery, because it was easier to get that next dopamine hit from the cute girl at the office or the cute guy at the office. So they have to be careful with the dopamine. But dopamine is one, but many people get hung up on dopamine and they forget the other chemicals. So it's very interesting if you can really get in connection. What I love about asking questions is that are emotional based, they get into their criteria, is they don't just think about what's important. So let's go back to my friend Marianne. When she started tearing up, she didn't just tear up, she had oxytocin running through her body.
Mm-hmm.
And what does oxytocin do? Oxytocin builds trust.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we see it's chemical improvement. So if you can ask questions, get the body to release oxytocin, and you're in that place. Oxytocin is then all of a sudden they're bonding with you on an unconscious level.
Mm-hmm.
There's dopamine, there's oxytocin, there's serotonin, there's endorphins, there's cortisol. Let's talk about cortisol. Cortisol is one. We know people say, well, if you stay stressed, then the cortisol levels increase, and that can be damaging, increase physically, body fat, inflammation. We get that. But why do we have cortisol at all if there's not a benefit to it?
Right.
Or how do we manipulate it where it is good?
Yeah.
And so one of the things that when we're asking people what's important, we've got a list. This is what's important to them. This is their criteria. We find out where their pain or challenge is because it's usually that unmet need. What is it within them? Most people that want to be successful, Dr. Hank, they want to have the nice cars, the nice homes. It's not even for the car or home. It's usually an unmet need of recognition or validation.
Right.
So without being a therapist, let's recognize that unmet need. And if I can see them in pain, if I can see them in a place of turmoil, can I ask one or two or maybe three more important, very, very important questions to hold them there, to let that cortisol have time to literally circulate throughout. Now, that sounds manipulative to some people. What it's doing is really letting them know if they don't make a change, their life isn't going to get better. Really, and you can say that, and they'll reject what you say, but when they feel that, they can't reject their own feeling.
Yeah. All right.
And then we want to offer hope. We want to offer serotonin. So
yeah. That's great. I've taken lots of notes, and I hope all of you are taking lots of notes. This is, just tremendous. And yeah, I love the endorphins, and that's one of the most powerful drugs, and we make it, within our body. And so I suggest to people, one of the biggest cures on anything is go watch a funny movie, go take a walk in nature, that just, start enjoying yourself, and you'll find your way back onto your lighted path. And the power of emotions. In fact, I wrote a book, a small pamphlet actually, on the power of feeling. And I wrote that with a pretty famous guy that in a book that we co-authored, and it was just one of the startling realizations that it's really all about this feeling, that we actually go to our feelings, and a lot of people are like, I'm a little confused because why are my thoughts like creating and everything, but what's with these emotions and these feelings? And they're actually our guidance system. And so one very simplistic way that I like looking at it, if we use the God and look at, if you're feeling bad, that means you're thinking about this unlike God is, your higher power, the universe.
Yes.
Use. And when you're feeling good, it means you're aligned. And this is, the power where you're aligned with your higher power, with God, with all that is, and that literally will take you on your jolly ride to the lighted path on what you want. And it's not about you figuring it out. And typically we've been brought up to figure out the how, and the Father does the work, if you will. We don't have to figure out the how. We just need to figure out what we want, and again, and why we want it, and these these questions, these emotional questions, are just excellent to be able to influence both yourself and others, and really to be able to connect with people. And it's about connecting in this meaningful way. So I love it. Do you want to talk? I know that I was on your show, and so we talked a little about the subconscious mind. But do you want to talk anything about that, or specifically about neuropersuasion and how you help people?
Well, yeah. So neuropersuasion is based on the unconscious mind, and it's really how we influence ourselves first, getting your mindset. And there's so much more than just a positive mindset.
Yeah.
I remember somebody once gave me a book, and it was an old copy of The Power of Positive Thinking. And I said, and this was showing you I needed the book. I looked at it and said, why'd you give me this book? You think I have a bad mindset? I was already negative. But it's so much more than I see people it was my ex-wife, and that's a true story, and she probably did. But I see people in a way of, how we see things. Am I helping this person, serving them, whether it's real estate, insurance, coaching, whatever? And I've got to get myself in that state. Tony Robbins talks a lot about state management, but you really do have to get into a state. And I believe you got to have a baseline. I mean, it doesn't mean every day is going to be perfect, but you've got to have a heart of serving other people and doing the right things. Then you can persuade other people. Because if I'm asking somebody to change their identity, that's really what you think about this. You're trying to sell somebody a home, and I'm going to talk real estate for a minute. And they're like, we're not ready yet. We're going to wait until the market shifts. We're going to do this or whatever. And there's no real reason for them to wait. It's just fear. Then you've really got to get them to change their identity. You can give them 1,000 reasons logically. But can you change their identity to one who takes action?
Yeah.
You consider and if this simple thing, do you consider yourself open-minded? A simple question that when they say yes, they kind of hung by the tongue. Okay, I'm open-minded. I have to at least hear what they say.
Right.
So in neuropersuasion, what we do is we teach a 5-step sales process. Is target, and I'll give the 5 steps because it's the subtopics that really give you the power behind it.
Sure.
The first is targeting. You've got to target the right person. And you've got to make sure you're talking to the right person with the right need, the right desire, the right ability to purchase.
Yeah.
Then we get into rapport. And I think rapport has been so misunderstood. It's not going, hey, Dr. Hank, I really love those pictures behind your head. And, trying to build fake rapport. But rapport using, and I love language. So there's 2 or 3 simple sentences that we teach to help get that other person talking. The more someone talks, the more they're comfortable with you. So the second is rapport. Third is criteria, and that really is the 5 magic questions and some other questions and statements. Now, you said earlier questions are great, and they are. At the same time, you can make statements that get them. There's a few statements you can give, and inside their mind, they'll turn it into a question. Yeah. You just said something. They made a question. They answered a question. So statements is part of criteria.
You have an example of that?
Yeah. So one of the great examples, I think the funniest examples of this is a friend of mine uses it a lot in the network marketing industry because he's trying to recruit these professionals. And they'll say, hey, how long have you worked here? And he'll get into some of the rapport questions. How long have you worked here? I have heard that this is a great place to work. Now, this is a very small one. I have heard this is a great place to work. And if sometimes they'll say, yeah, it really is. Or, no, not really. Yeah, they work to death. They don't have any benefits. Really? Wow. What's important to you and then he goes into criteria. So that's one thing. A very simple statement that just says, I've heard this, or I bet this. And they're going to come back. So that's the third, though, is getting the criteria, finding out what really matters to somebody.
Yeah.
And the fourth is linking. You want to anchor or link that emotion to you. There's a couple ways you can do that. You can do it with physical gestures. You can do it with language. You can do it with imagination and stories. Now, when they have something negative come up, you want to link that or anchor that to their indecision, to the competition even.
Yeah.
And then the final one is close. So it's TRCLC, target, rapport, criteria, linking, and closing. Closing is a negative word. I get that, but it literally just means we've done business together.
Yes. All right.
They've signed the listing agreement. They've whatever. And so we're able to serve them and fully get back into their life. So that's what we teach in neuropersuasion, and we have fun doing it. Because I think it's come with ethics and morality, because here's why. There's a lot of people teaching, let me rephrase that. There's a lot of people using bits and pieces of this, and we see the propaganda in news. Doesn't matter what side politically you're on. We see propaganda, and all propaganda is if somebody has learned these techniques and are using it for their own good instead of to mislead and guide.
Yeah.
So you need to be aware of this. And one of the keys of neuropersuasion is not that I can't be manipulated, but it's a lot harder now because I see what other people are doing.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't even know it, but I'm like, I see that.
That's great. Love it. And can you give a testimonial on somebody recently that, you've been helping and they use this 5-step process that helped them?
Absolutely. So working with someone that does remote sales. So they're picking up the phone, they're talking to people, and they've got a script. It's a good script. It really is. It's got some great questions. It pulls up discovery.
And you help them with the script?
No, they came to me with the script. And they're like, hey, I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, what we're doing is treating everybody here the same. Even though it's a good script, it's not a great script because everybody's not the same.
Yeah.
So what we did was we changed hey, Dr. Hank, thanks for getting on the call today. Here's what we're going to cover, into some more rapport building questions. Now, I got some feedback like, hey, this is another 10 minutes every call. And I'm like, yes, sharpen the axe before you cut the tree. And then we got into, instead of tell me more about your business, how can we help you? And trying to find a gap, we went more into the 5 magic questions, 5 magic words. And we got the criteria. Then we helped them throughout the script link the positive to their company, the negative to indecision, or I want to think about it. And at the end, we not only more than doubled their sales, they were able to leave that organization, jump into another organization, and done very, very well with that. And her words were, Wayne, the way you script things are magical. And I said, it's not magic.
Yeah.
It's neuroscience.
Yeah.
Without sounding like a neuroscientist. You got to have a conversation. But it's the way that God created our mind to make decisions. And at the end, you have to lower resistance. You have to make people feel comfortable.
Yeah. Right.
Or they simply will not. Everybody watching this, you've met somebody and just naturally like that person. You don't know why. Maybe you even couldn't put the finger on, but you like and trust this person.
Yeah.
And then there's those you don't. And that's kind of what we want to do. So how do we get a person to naturally like us?
Yeah.
It just makes for a better world.
Yeah. Well, we all like you, Wayne.
Well, we appreciate that.
Well, that's fabulous. And how would we get a hold of you, Wayne, if we're interested in doing that neuroscience 5-step sales process of neuroscience?
The easiest is just my website. You can find me on Facebook, YouTube, all that fun stuff. But yourpersuasioncoach.com.
Okay, so your persuasion coach.com. And can you give us some specials, some type of offer, and maybe a free initial call or something?
Absolutely. Always. One of the things you'll see at the top is work with me, and it'll have a calendar. If you'll put in the calendar in the notes, just put Dr. Hank.
Okay.
I will know that where we connected here.
Yeah.
I always tell people what I love about those sessions is it's not a sales script by any means.
Yeah.
We literally want to hear where you're at in your life, where you're at in your business, especially if you're in real estate. I love working with realtors because what we're not going to do is give another cookie cutter coaching program.
Yeah.
We're going to look at your business.
Yeah.
And we're going to look at every aspect. And that call, though, it may be 20 minutes. It may be an hour and a half. We're just going to have a good conversation.
Yeah.
I think I have a 2-hour blocked out because if I can serve, here's the key, guys. If you can truly serve somebody, they'll come back and spend money with you if they need you. And if
Right.
you can't truly serve them in that time, you shouldn't ask for the money anyway.
Right. I love it. I love it. Oh, that's just fabulous. And just love your whole approach to all of that, Wayne, and love what you're doing. That we got a couple minutes left, and would you like to share anything else that you think might be helpful to us to be able to, build our lives, relationship, business?
No, I appreciate that. One thing is this sounds cliche, so I'm careful when I say this. You've got to learn to be true to yourself. And what I mean by that is, if you take all the mystical sound and stuff away from it, is you've got to recognize where you are blessed. You've got to walk in that place of gratitude every day, because it primes your unconscious to look for gratitude.
Yeah.
And so
exactly.
Yeah, and just like I talk about the 5 magic words, I have 5 areas, and I'll be very brief on this. But the 5 areas that I look at is, I look at my identity first. Mm-hmm. If I'm coaching somebody, where is my identity? Do I see myself as a husband, a dad, a father, a loser, a alcoholic? What's my identity? Because identity shifts everything else. Mm-hmm. So when working with someone, let's say in a hypnosis or hypnotherapy session, you can tell somebody, you're going to stop smoking, you're going to stop smoking, you're going to stop smoking. But it doesn't work, because they identify themselves as a smoker trying to stop something.
Right.
Getting them to shift and see themselves as a non-smoker.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My son's a vegan. It's not a challenge for him not to eat a cheeseburger. He just don't eat it because that's not his identity. So identity's first. And I love a cheeseburger. I'm not vegan. But identity's first. Then it's your purpose. You're God-given. For those who believe, I believe every one of us have a purpose and a destiny. And it's recognizing that. And even if you're not a believer, you're not spiritual, what is it within you that you feel like you're supposed to accomplish?
Yeah.
Third is relationships. This is the key. Relationships are everything in life.
Yeah.
And then fourth is literally your finances.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people that I talk to that are stuck at an income because A, unlimited beliefs, or limited beliefs, or B, they don't have the skill set or opportunity. So we have to work through that. And then finally, fifth is the physical health. The little things that we can do. Why do we believe what we believe about our own body and how we take care of that body? So anyway, I work people using the 5 magic words through the 5 steps. That's really I've given all my secrets here, Dr.
Well, great. We love it. We appreciate it. And it's really great. And a couple of comments that so I love that, and I think you use the word gratitude and to be that way. And I like using. I have a what's called a joy shop in the morning. That if you do this joy shop, just takes about 15 minutes. But the second step of it is to write what you appreciate. So very close to what I'm grateful for. Appreciation. I typically like a little bit higher vibrational word, and because it includes you. We co-created this, if you will, and so it's not that I'm just grateful to some higher power that I co-created. I did the asking, Father did the work, if you will. And so I love that and the reason why I have that second step in there on appreciation is because whatever you appreciate, you automatically are calling for more of it. And you will get more of it. Right. And so it's just great. And then those 5 steps to, I would call 5 steps to success on that identity and purpose, relationships and finance and health. And I really like that. I think the one area that a lot of people, 2 comments on that, on the health, is a lot of people say, oh, I'm getting older. You mentioned like, oh, I'm 50 and, whatever that, and like I say every day, I'm just getting younger every day. and so whatever you tell yourself and you believe that, you will. And so some people say, and I really don't care what other people say of me, that it's what I think of me. And that's really the only important thing. But I do have other, have people people say, "Wow, you look a little bit younger."
The key behind it, you mentioned earlier questions.
Yeah.
If you give the unconscious a question, it will find an answer.
Right.
So my question is, why do I keep getting younger? How do I keep feeling better? And I say that jokingly, but there's a great book by
I love it.
Noel
Yeah.
St. John called Affirmations, not affirmations. And it's basically the questions you form in your consciousness will affect the unconscious. And it's really great. So I use a couple of vision boards that are digital. I have digital vision boards, really neat. And one of the things is a question: why am I so happy? And it's not, and if as long as you read it the right way, the unconscious says, why am I? Well, let's find out why you are. Let's discover that. And it keeps you focused on the activating system on why you're successful.
Yeah. And so I just happen to think here, and I love it. And why is my wealth continually growing?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I have a number of them, and I have about 4 or 5. And like I said, on my digital vision board, they pop up. When I'm doing my gratitude session every morning, I meditate on those theme areas, and it really is. It's when you understand, how would you act? Those watching this, just imagine your income doubled or tripled overnight. Yeah. How would you act? It's not faking it till you're making it, acting as if. Can you identify with that?
Yeah.
Can you identify with a realistic? Double the income's not a lot for a lot of people. If they're making $100,000, to make $200,000, it's not. But what would you do with that extra $100,000? How would you spend it? How would you invest it? How would you act different? And when you've given, I really believe, when you've given your mind an objective and a reason, the mind will achieve it.
There you go. Absolutely. Yeah.
You have not because you ask not is biblical.
Yeah. There you go. And it's this, it's the kingdom within. In fact, another one of my books is Your Royal Path to Riches. And that literally is how to tap into the kingdom within, this subconscious mind. And I love this idea about asking yourself, why do I keep on looking younger? Why am I so happy why is my wealth continually growing? That I just think those are some magical statements. And
I'll give you a Bible verse behind it. I'll give you the Bible verse behind it.
Sure.
2 Corinthians 3:18 is my favorite verse.
Okay.
And I always tell people, read it from a couple different versions, because this one you read it, it's like, it sounds. If you read King James, you're like, what did he just say?
Right.
But it's basically, as you behold Christ with an unveiled face, then you are transformed. I'll give the quick version. You're transformed from glory to glory. Well, I've studied on this for about, this one verse has hung with me for like a decade. Here's what I'm getting out of it. It's a process. Glory to glory is a process. If it's a process, it's not a crisis.
Yeah.
Walk into a kitchen and there's flour and eggs and cocoa, and is this a crisis? No, it's a process of making a cake.
Yeah.
So that, for me, if I'm getting better over time, glory to glory process, day to day, then I'm only going to get better as I get older. And as a man believes in his heart, so is he. So I believe the older I get, the healthier I'm going to get. The older I get, the smarter I'm going to get. And the older I get, the more compassionate I'm going to become.
Yeah.
And if I believe that, and that's part of my identity, then the unconscious mind says, oh, we need to release more growth hormone because Wayne's getting wrinkles up here in his forehead. Hey, we need to do this because this goes against who he is.
Yeah.
That sounds weird, but we've seen this in the neuroscience that these questions actually do produce changes in the physical body. So
absolutely, you bet. Yeah, I've been through all kinds of physical things. I about now 6 years ago was in a major car accident, was paralyzed my waist down, said no operation could fix me, that and I'd never walk again, and I just decided I'm not going to believe that. And so I just started visualizing, seeing me walking, and now, hey, I do a little dance and
That's it. That's
I'm
awesome.
I'm walking around. So, yeah, it's just amazing on how powerful we are. And Wayne, you helped us so much today to
Thank you.
understand on just how I like to call it lovingly powerful that each one of us are, and how you have it can help us in order to really tap into that magnificence that each one of us are. Again, it's Wayne Sutton. He's with yourpersuasioncoach.com, and look him up. I'm Dr. Hank, and you know how to get a hold of me, and we're both here to help you become your greatest possibility. So with that, Wayne, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much.
Okay, thank you. And for all of you out there, know that, hey, everything's getting better and better for you. There's hope out there that there is a thriving, bright future for you. And come to us and we'll show you how to get there easier